This is Peg from the International Kitchen. Welcome back to my kitchen, where we will be learning a new recipe today. Today we'll be doing pasticciotti, which are a small filled pastry from the Puglia region of Italy. Puglia, also known as Apulia, is the heel of Italy's boot, and this is a just simple but extremely tasty pastry. It can be found throughout southern Italy, although it is traditionally Apulian. It can be filled with a custard filling or a ricotta filling. You will even sometimes see them with other types of fillings, but custard is the most traditional, and that's what we'll be doing today. So first, we are going to make the dough. You will need 2 cups of flour, 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, pinch of salt, and 1/2 cup of sugar. This is just regular granulated sugar. And then you will sift these together. At this point, you can cut the butter in to the dry ingredients with a pastry cutter, or you can use a food processor. I'm going to use the food processor because it is just a little bit quicker. Here is a 1/2 cup of butter cut into pieces. You can use lard. Lard makes a really great textured dough. My husband unfortunately does not eat meat, so I'm not going to use lard. You could also use shortening, but butter is nice because it gives it a good buttery flavor. Butter is always nice. Now you're just going to pulse this until it You're going to pulse this until it has kind of the consistency of cornmeal. All right, perfect. That was about 30 seconds. Okay. Now we're going to put it in a large bowl. Now to this mixture, we are going to add the wet ingredients, which are 1/4 cup of milk mixed with 3/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 egg. Now we're just going to turn this out onto the countertop to finish incorporating it together. You don't want to knead it excessively, you just want to work it together until it can be formed into a nice ball. And there you have it. Again, don't work it too much. It will get tough. We're going to cover this with plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator for about an hour while we work on the filling. So now we'll make the custard filling. It's a slightly strange custard, I think, because it uses cornstarch as the thickening agent. It doesn't use a lot of egg. In fact, there's only 1 egg yolk that's added at the end. So you'll take 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 2/3 cup of sugar. Whisk that together. And then you will whisk in 1.5 cups of milk. Put it on medium heat. And then add the zest of 1 lemon. Into the milk. And then you will also add 1.5 tablespoons of butter. So it's been cooking for about 7 minutes, I would say. It's still over medium heat. You don't want it to come to a full boil. You just want to keep it kind of right at that, just under boil temperature. And it has gotten thicker. And now we are going to add the egg yolk. So turn off the heat, and you're going to just add a little bit of the custard into the egg yolk to temper it. You don't want scrambled eggs in your custard. So this is just bringing the egg yolk temperature up slightly, so that then when you add it into the custard again, it doesn't scramble. So now I'm going to cool the custard by putting it in a separate bowl and covering it with plastic wrap, pressing the plastic wrap to the surface of the custard so that it doesn't form a skin, and then put it in the fridge for about an hour. So before we continue with our pasticciotti, let's talk a little bit about Puglia. Puglia is one of our very favorite regions here at the International Kitchen. It is a southern Italian region, as I said. It's the heel of Italy's boot. So it is very temperate. It has a tremendous amount of coastline, so you'll find a lot of great seafood, but it's also an agricultural area where there's a lot of livestock that is raised. You'll find great meats and cured meats, cheeses, and an abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables. It is a region that produces a lot of wine and a tremendous amount of olive oil. The olive groves in Puglia are just extensive. And it's a friendly, authentic part of Italy. It's gained more traction in tourism in the last decade, with some celebrities choosing to get married there. We actually have one of our employees who got married there. And it's because it's just great food and wine, down to earth, gorgeous, gorgeous scenery, and really a wonderful, wonderful place for a cooking vacation. You can find all of our cooking vacations and foodie tours in Puglia and in all of Italy on our website, www.theinternationalkitchen.com. All right, back to work. We have our dough. It's been chilling in the fridge, probably not an hour, maybe 45 minutes. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with. And we are going to make 12 pasticciotti. I use these little tart pans, which I actually got in Portugal. They're the same tins that I use to make pastéis de nata, which is one of my favorite Portuguese pastries. And you can learn more about that on our Portugal video. But they work great for pasticciotti as well. If you don't have these nice little tins, you can use muffin tins, or probably could use ramekins as well. I've never tried that, but definitely muffin tins work. So we are going to take our dough. I'm just going to work part of it at a time. Cut off half of it. Going to need my rolling pin. Some flour for dusting, your rolling pin, and then some type of round cutter. You could use a large glass. I tend to use this biscuit cutter. It's just a little bit smaller than I would like, but I can kind of smush the dough into the pan to cover the bottom and the sides. All right, so it is quite a wet dough, so you are going to want to use a good amount of flour to keep it from sticking. I have buttered the tins slightly. This dough has a lot of butter, so you probably could get away with not buttering them, but I figure better safe than sorry, so I do butter the tins. All right, you don't want it too thin. So you take your round, and just put it in and press it up so that the dough comes all the way up to the top. So I got about 8 tins out of that half. And I will save the scraps because we have to make lids for them. So between the other half of the dough and what I have here, there will be plenty of dough left to make the tops of the tarts, because they are completely encased, which is great because they're custard. So you can hold them in your hand, and then when you eat them, they're slightly oozy and delicious. All right. So this dough is rather forgiving. If you find that you have a hole or a tear, you can pretty easily, because of it's an enriched dough because of the high content of the high fat content and the egg in it. It is pretty easy, pretty forgiving, and pretty easy to mend if you get a hole or a tear. All right. Great, now we have all 12 of our tins filled with the pasticciotti dough, and we've got our rounds here ready to go on top. So we're just going to fill them. You can see that the custard has set. It's still a little warm. It's not completely set, but that's fine. You're going to put about 2 tablespoons of custard in each tart pan. There you go, it's pretty much perfect. Then you are going to take your egg wash. I tend to do this part with my fingers. You can use a pastry brush. I do that. Use a pastry brush for the top, but I like to just get a little bit of egg wash on the sides. I don't want too much of that egg wash to get on top, get into the custard. So I just do a few at a time like this, just to get that dough sort of wet and ready for the top. Brush off any extra flour. 2, 3, 4, and then you just kind of pinch the size. Again, this dough is very easy to work with. So now the pasticciotti are all made, they're all assembled, and we're just brushing the tops with a bit of egg wash, and then they will go into a 425-degree oven for about 15 to 18 minutes until they are lovely golden brown. So here we have them, our pasticciotti. They were in the oven for 18 minutes, and then I let them cool for about 2 minutes on the wire rack before I took them out of their tins. And they really just pop right out. They're so easy. You can see how beautiful they are. Beautiful, crusty brown bottoms, slight crusty top, and then beautiful custard on the inside. In fact, maybe I'll just open one up a little bit. You can see how beautiful and tasty that's going to be. We hope you've enjoyed making pasticciotti with us, and that we'll see you again soon. Again, for any information on our tours, our cooking classes, our cooking vacations in Puglia, throughout Italy and the world, see our website, www.theinternationalkitchen.com.